by Dr. Stanley with the Edina Schools. She's our superintendent, and we earlier today issued a press release discussing kind of identify what had happened since last night and into today. And so today we thought it'd be a good idea to do the follow-up and do some interviews with all of you to provide further clarification and an update that has happened since last night. I'm going to read off a statement, and then when I'm done, Dr. Stanley is going to also read a statement, and at the end of that, we'll be here for some follow-up questions if there are some. So at approximately 8 o'clock p.m. Thursday, September 14th, the Edina Police Department received information of a threat that occurred earlier in the day at the Edina High School, 6754 Valley View Road. A 17-year-old boy took a Snapchat video of himself in the parking lot of the high school with a semi-automatic handgun and extended magazine in his lap. The caption in the video said, "Come outside, bitch," and at the end of the Snapchat video captured the doors of the school. The teenager then left the campus. The Edina Police Department, in partnership with the FBI and the overnight to identify the teenager. Located and arrested in the 50 East Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis. He is not a former or current student. Early in the investigation, the police department contacted Edina Public Schools. Out of an abundance, the school district made a decision to move Edina High School and Valley View Middle School to online learning, and that occurred today while our police department investigated this crime. The juvenile was brought to the Hennepin County Juvenile Detention Center facility pending the charging considerations through the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. We thank our law enforcement partners, including the Minneapolis and the FBI, for their work on this investigation. We also want to thank Edina Public Schools for their partnership in what concluded in a very swift and successful apprehension. I'll turn it over to Dr. Stanley.
Thank you, Chief Milburn. Again, my name is Stacie Stanley. I am the superintendent of Edina Public Schools. I, too, have a statement here to read for you. Last night, I received a call from Chief, provided a debrief on the situation at high school involving a teenage video of himself in the parking lot of the high school with a semi-automatic handgun and extended magazine in his lap. At that time, there was no additional information available as they were working to identify and apprehend the individual. We scheduled a follow-up virtual call at 6:30 a.m. this morning. At that time, the arrest had not been made, so the district decided to move Edina High School and Valley View Middle School to online learning again today. Staff and parents and guardians were immediately notified. The exterior doors of the schools were secured, and the Edina Police Department provided police presence at each of our schools, with a heavier presence at Edina High School, Valley View Middle School, and Creek Valley Elementary due to its close proximity. We were notified mid-morning that the individual had been apprehended and worked in tandem with the police department to release a final communication. At this time, I would like to express my deep gratitude for the Edina Police Department. We maintain a strong partnership with the Edina Police Department and the Edina Fire Department, as well as the City of Edina, working together to ensure safety of our school community. This collaboration has allowed us to respond swiftly and effectively to the threat. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up for some questions.
Chief, do you have any idea why the 17-year-old was at Edina High School? Did he know he went to the school? Was it a targeted thing? If you could tell us anything about that.
We don't have those details available yet. We're very early in the investigation. You know, we're hours removed from the initial reporting to our department, so we hope to come up with more information as we proceed through the rest of this day and into the weekend.
What time was this video recorded in the parking lot?
We believe it was recorded in the early afternoon hours of yesterday.
While students were in school?
Correct, that's right.
Who reported this?
We can't identify yet who reported it. We'll just say that we had information relayed to the police department, which started this investigation.
Did it appear that the 17-year-old was inside a vehicle at the time? I know in the release he said there could go into his lap.
It did look like, and it did appear that he was inside a vehicle at the time.
And then do you know what the arresting agency was today? Who took him into custody?
It was a combination of the Minneapolis Police Department, Edina Police Department, and the FBI.
You said the threat was in the caption on the video written. Did he say anything in the video?
We're not releasing that information right now.
What possible charges could he face for this, and what would the penalty be for those? I mean, I know that online communication, oftentimes, if it includes like a terror charge or whatnot, can be a pretty hefty sentence.
Sure, there's two charges that we're looking at right now, both felony level, and again, it's important to emphasize it's early, but right now, threats of violence, which is a felony level charge, and the second charge is carrying a pistol or carrying a firearm on school property is also a felony offense. The back end of that, the repercussions, I can't speak to that because there's a lengthy process involved as an offender goes through the system, but there are two definite felony charges that we're currently looking at right now. And we present that case to the Hennepin County Attorney's Office, and it's also important to note that it's the decision rests on the Hennepin County Attorney's Office for that final charging decision process.
The location of the arrest on Franklin Avenue, was that the suspect's home?
We don't know yet if it was that person's home. I can only tell you that's the location where the suspect was arrested.
Do you know if that person had any criminal history?
I don't have that information right now.
A couple factors at play though here that you kind of have been hearing about. One, this is a juvenile, with the violent kind of act here, and two, this is a semi-automatic handgun with an extended magazine, which we keep hearing about. I guess as a law enforcement official, what do you make of this when you look at all the pieces in its totality, just of what this was and what it could have been, and just especially on what you've been seeing the last couple of years?
Yeah, we're concerned about it. There's been this increase in possession of handguns, or our youth going to handguns to settle disputes and beefs and arguments. And it's very concerning to us in law enforcement and also in the school district that that's what we're seeing in terms of a trend. If kids or other suspects show up on school property with firearms and with handguns with the intention of doing harm, they're going to expect a heavy law enforcement presence. We're going to apply and deploy all resources that we have available to us, like we just did in the last 18 or 14 hours. And we're going to leverage every law enforcement resource that we have to follow up on those cases. We take those very seriously. We're going to put every effort that we can to solve those crimes, and that's the expectation certainly moving forward as we deal with this troubling trend that we're seeing.
Were there any illegal modifications done to this weapon to make it full auto, for example?
It's too early in the investigation to talk about that.
Have you located the weapon?
Too early in the investigation to talk about that as well.
Dr. Stanley, question specific for you. Just when it comes down to notifying families, how do you make the decision of whether you're going to notify district-wide versus parents at certain schools? I know there's concern from at least one elementary school parent I talked to today that they didn't find out until after their kids were already dropped off, whereas the messaging to high school and middle school parents came out at least an hour or so earlier than that.
Our priority is to truly focus on the schools that are affected, and then from there, we determine what the next steps are in communicating out to the rest of the community.
How many students are at Edina High School, and how many students are at the middle school, like the two campuses?
Yeah, the two campuses together with students is approximately 4,000 students.
As a student, I know many of my peers and their families are concerned about the rise of incidents like this. What message do you have for students and parents who are feeling anxious about sending their kids to school today?
Yeah, I want to let our students and families know that we care about them. We are here to make certain that our students and our staff have that psychological safety that they need in preparing to come back to school on Monday. Again, our incredible relationship with our police department is so important. I am incredibly grateful that they were there to support us, to be on site, and to respond immediately.
Are after-school activities canceled at those campuses too?
Our after-school activities are not canceled because the threat has been detained.
And then just as the leader of the district, I saw one of the blasts that was sent out to parents called this unsettling and concerning. What words would you use to describe a situation like this involving your kids, your students?
Yeah, those are my words. They are incredibly unsettling and concerning. I take the responsibility of this safety for all of our children very seriously. And that is why I continue to make certain that we have protocols in place around safety and security so that we too can respond promptly in situations like this that arise.
As an educator, I know you have a heart for kids, and we keep seeing these younger kids, younger than 18, getting involved in these pretty serious crimes. I mean, what's the messaging? I mean, how do you talk to kids, especially in the high school,
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail on the head there. We have to reach children early. We have to make sure that we are reaching them early and supporting their social, emotional learning, their stability, building that resilience that children need in order to know how to navigate difficult situations, as opposed to, as Chief said, turning to violence. We know that all of the research says that when we're able to really start to educate children early, and unfortunately that early in the 21st century is much earlier than it was before, that we can really reach them and make a difference.
When you first got the phone call, did you say it was last night? What was your initial reaction to hearing that?
Well, first of all, anytime you see the police chief's phone number come up on your phone at 10:20 at night, you know that it is something serious. And so I immediately went into the role that I play as a superintendent to make sure that I'm keeping my school community, my community safe.
What kind of resources are in the school to prevent somebody from just walking into the school? Thankfully, this person stayed in their vehicle or whatever, but what resources are inside?
Yeah, we actually just had our safety and security, the director that oversees that, provide an overview to the board. There are some things that I'm certainly not going to share publicly because we don't want to put ourselves in a vulnerable situation, but I can say we do have secured vestibules, so you will not be able to get into the building unless you're able to badge in or unless you are given a buzz into the schools. So I will leave it at that.
When's the last time you actually had to cancel the school day for in-person classes because of a threat like this?
I have been the superintendent of Edina Public Schools since July 1, 2021, and I have not had to do that.
Superintendent, do you have school resource officers in your buildings this academic school year?
We do.
Is there anything else you feel like it's important just for folks to take away from this or know from this? I know that there's a lot of hard work that's been done over the last 24 hours or so. But any message you feel like you really want people to take away from this?
I would like people to understand just the importance of partnership and interagency collaboration. That is really what allowed us to swiftly move in this direction, and I don't know what else Chief would add.
Yeah, I would just go back to reaffirm that it's the relationships that are important and the key to communicating early and often and making sure that all the key stakeholders are involved. Communication can be tricky to get out to people in a very short period of time, and these investigations can be somewhat complex, but we always ask the public to be somewhat patient with us as we go through our methodical work, but also try to time out our communication so we can get the important word out of what we're trying to do and provide that safety for our residents and our students in the high school setting as well. That work's going to continue on for sure, and then in law enforcement, we're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're going to, like I said earlier too, when we have these threats and we have these incidents pop up, we're going to be there, and we're going to keep working with our partners to make sure that we're out there taking care of the business, and we're going to hold people accountable for this kind of behavior.
Chief, what about for you? When's the last time that you can recall someone bringing a weapon onto a school campus in Edina?
Well, I've been here for 2 years. I came from Brooklyn Park, and in my time up in Brooklyn Park, I mean, there's been several incidents, I would say, in school districts across the metro area where we're seeing this unfortunate and troubling behavior where firearms are being brought onto school properties.
And Chief, I know along those lines, we saw a shooting at Richfield High School football game last year. There was stabbing at a school in St. Paul last year. What does that tell you that we're seeing more violent instances between school-age students? It's not even someone, an adult coming in and engaging in violence on children, but that's the kids that potentially know each other that are acting like this. What does that tell you? How do you react to that?
We've been working on this for a number of years. We've seen this prior to and during and around the time of COVID, this uptick in this behavior, unfortunately. I think it can be tied to a lot of things, and I just don't think that we're going to fully understand, kind of how we got to where we are today for years to come. I do think, going back to Dr. Stanley's point, a lot of it ties into mental health, or a lot of it ties to relationships and adult supervision and structure and having key things in place to help out with what's going on right now. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some work across all fronts to try and get some of these corrections in place. But really, we got to think about our youth, certainly younger in age, before they get to this level of this behavior, and try and put some things in place and help them out to make sure that they're being corrected and not making these bad decisions that are out there.
Do you know if this teen had been seen on campus previously?
We don't have that information right now.
Dr. Stanley, I'm a parent of 2 children at Creek Valley Elementary, which is located 0.2 miles from the high school. When I called the front office at Creek Valley this morning upon learning upon this incident at 7:45, I was told that no additional police presence was there, and I spoke to a parent that freely walked into the school to try to find the principal to find out what was happening. They weren't stopped from entering the school. Why wasn't more done at the start of the day at Creek Valley Elementary knowing that this happened? And what time did law enforcement arrive at Creek Valley Elementary today?
So first of all the majority of the resources were being placed at the high school and at Valley View to make certain that we had the safety resources that were there. I believe that resources arrived on the campus at about 8:15. I'd have to clarify that. And we kept a police car there specifically at Creek Valley for the duration of the time until we found out that the individual was apprehended.
And it's a good opportunity to point out that just to ensure the safety and well-being of kids returning to school on Monday, that we're going to have officers present at the schools here. We're going to have marked squad cars just to make sure everyone feels safe and understands that the immediate threat is done and over. We've handled this investigation, but we're always concerned about future safety. And so we're going to provide that service and continue to make sure our kids are safe and feel safe in the environment. So with that, that's our last question. Thank you for the questions. Appreciate everyone, and have a good day.
And that's all the schools? You'll have the squads?
We're working on that, but we'll release that information later. Thank you.
Thank you both.